All right, Blake. So one of the things that we're seeing is that it seems like every day it's a little bit harder to get a home, right? For several different reasons. Some people have, notoriously always blamed interest rates. But now it looks like there's also a supply problem on the end of this. What exactly is going on and how is the market reacting and what can a buyer do to still distinguish themselves to be able to buy a home?
Yeah, well, that's kind of a complicated question, but I can tell you that first of all, like we always say on this show, interest rates have definitely pushed, a lot of the buyers out of the market. So people that may have been able to get approved for a 3 or 4, maybe even a 5% loan, we're now looking at people that are looking at 6 or 7 or 8%, depending on what their credit's like, and also depending on what the interest rates are at that particular time that they go and apply. And as we have heard, later on, sometime this month, maybe next month, it looks like interest rates are definitely going to be hiked yet another basis point, which is 0.25%. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting to see what's going to happen and where that's going to kind of force the market. But right now, we're seeing, like you said, actually a shortage of homes. So, we're seeing a shortage of buyers, but we're seeing a shortage of homes because a lot of the people, you got to keep this in mind, whenever somebody sells a home, they're usually going to move from it, right? And so a lot of
Yep.
people
They have to
in
buy another one
particular,
somewhere else, right?
exactly. And for those people that already have those 3 or 4 or 5% interest rates locked in, why move to a house of similar value but pay thousands of more dollars every year just in interest? Why? Right? So that's part of the
Yeah.
reason why we see less buyers. But we also see less inventory because people are happy with their loan at the percentage that they have.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just to cite some facts I'm putting on the screen, sales of previously owned homes dropped 3.3% in June from the month before. Okay. And then also looking at this, compared to last year, June's home sales were about 19% lower than the prior year.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
they actually did some more deeper research, and it's the slowest pace of sales for June since 2009. What does this mean with the economy? Obviously, we know that 2009 is a very distinguished year, right? After
Yeah.
the huge recession that we had under President Bush and the beginning of President Obama's term, right? Uh, what does that mean for the overall economy? Did we go through a recession once before? Are we still barreling towards a new recession? What's going on there?
Well, it looks like we're definitely heading towards newer, either you could call it a recession or you could call it a slowing of growth, depending on how you look at it. So, the first train of thought is that, well, with these numbers, we're probably going to be going through a recession soon because, like we said earlier, interest rates are going higher, consumerism is going down, and when that happens, typically consumers hold on to their money, which kind of slows the economy to a grinding halt in a lot of cases. But also, there's an argument that could be made where, looking at the overall economic picture, that, we haven't seen things clapped like they did in 2008. We've seen a lot of the job numbers and a lot of the wage growth numbers remain steady, if not, come down a little bit. But there's still a net positive of jobs being created. There's still,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of money in the system that is sustaining the system for now. And I personally went out to go look at cars not too long ago. I still saw a lot of people buying new cars and buying new things, buying new houses. So although it's slowing, I wouldn't say it's grinded to a halt just yet. And that's the question that economists are asking. Will it slow all the way down? Will it retract into a recession? Or will we just slowly grow what they call unremarkable growth?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It makes me wonder. I know that the lead up to these big events can be really rapid, right? So, in a few months from now, things could look completely different. One thing I also wanted to point out, and I think that it's really, really interesting. So, sales were lower 23% in the first half of the year compared to prior years. But one of the things that has actually come out of this is the fact that prices are indeed on the rise. So, how is it that prices are on the rise if there's less buyers and less sellers? Is it because of the supply and demand curve where, hey, since
Yeah.
there's less supply, some house that might actually be 150, you might be able to get 170, or a house that's 500, you
Yeah.
might be able to
So
milk out that extra cash because it's the only one down the street for sale.
right, that's exactly what's happening. People are realizing, well, I'm not competing against my neighbors for their business or other houses in the surrounding area. For example, I get a home report sent to my house pretty much every month, and it said that the average amount of time that a home stays on the market has actually went up, but that's because it was only comparing it to one other house that had similar features. Whereas in the past, you would have been comparing it to 5, 10, 15 in this little zip code area. So, like you said, what that tells me is listen, you might be able to list it for a higher price, and you might get that price if somebody's desperate to move to that area, specifically Florida, Texas, to those areas. But like you said, prices overall will probably stay strong just because of supply and demand. Although, like I said earlier, your buyers are also they're not as often on the market. So for those people that you're looking to
Yeah,
buy
they're
your
they're
home,
not
you're
wanting
looking
to
at a
move.
smaller pool of people.
Basically,
Yeah,
they're not wanting to move from a smaller payment to a larger payment for near the same thing, unless it's obviously for life circumstances or a different
correct.
location, right? So I think
Correct.
that you're absolutely right there. Just one last thing I wanted to point out in this article, which I think is fascinating, is that so according to Redfin's home buyer demand index, it looks at how well the market is performing. That the early stage demand is up 2%, but yet the pending sales are down 15. So that means
Yeah,
that there's a lot of people who are still like, "Oh yeah, we should go buy a home," but they can't. And that's one of the biggest problems, one of the most unfortunate circumstances about this market is people are absolutely priced out monthly wise with the APR and all these things that go into the interest rate. And then even
absolutely.
if
Yeah.
not, they're priced out just with the pure insanity of the amount of what it costs for a home. So
And we'll
unbelievable.
see that change when interest rates are lowered, if they ever are lowered. But
Yep.
until inflation comes down to basically the 2% annual rate that the Federal Reserve looks to kind of get to, we're going to see rates either continue to go up or at least remain the same. But we're never going to see them go down for the foreseeable future.
I've always heard the saying, it takes money to make money, but now I can officially say it costs money to borrow money. Unbelievable. Well, Blake, thank you so much for your analysis on this. I really do think it's interesting. We'll see how that demand continues to rise or subtract. We could be heading to some hard times in the future, so we'll see. Blake, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.